I am always going to be brave enough to say, even though I know you're dying to know the solutions and how you can fix things, because I've been there, but it's also really important to understand that without you, without the mother, without the person doing the organising and the person who's right at the pointy end of things, actually it's very hard for your child to thrive. And I know that sounds like a really big responsibility, and it is, but our neurobiology says that that's what we will do anyway. So rather than resist and make it difficult for ourselves, it's probably better to just say, let's ride this out and say, let's focus on ourselves, let's be the best that we can be, because our well-being really matters. Mothers matter, and it's a hugely important and demanding role. So let's start by just taking a moment to be present, because I have absolutely no doubt that whatever time you're watching this or whatever space you're in, it's been busy today. So let's take a few moments to just be together. And the best way to do that is to actually just do 3 deep breaths. You can do this anytime during the day, and it's just incredible how quick a response you get, because by doing some breath work, you're directly connecting your vagal nerve to your central nervous system and helping yourself settle and just be, actually. So let's take 3 deep breaths. It's important to breathe in through our nose, hold it for a little minute, not quite a minute, hold it, and then breathe out and ensure that the breath out through our mouth is longer than the breath in. So we expel all that breath out, ready to take another deep breath. Let's try it together. I hope that you'll be okay in closing your eyes or lowering your gaze while we do it. I don't know about you, but that felt really good. I can feel my shoulders relaxing and my heartbeat getting back into a sort of more natural rhythm. I hope you felt that too. It's a great strategy to use anytime, anywhere. The other one is something I want you to just be with me and think through, something that elevated you, made you feel really great over the last day or few days or even the last week. It can be just a micro moment too. It doesn't have to be something huge. So I'll give you a moment to think of that. Okay, I've got one. I hope you have too. So let's take a moment to go deeper into it. I have no doubt that the micro moment happened and you had feelings and sensations related to it, but you probably moved on to all the things that needed to be done and that long list of things that you have. So let's go back and give it a chance to really impact on our well-being, influence our well-being in a positive way. So think about, where were you? Inside, outside, home? What were you doing? Who were you with? Or were you on your own? What made it so special? What did you feel? What were the sensations in your body? Can you name those sensations? Can you name the emotion you might have felt? By giving ourselves time to think about it in more depth, it's called savouring. But it gives us a chance to actually build more positive emotion and to remember that moment and to give ourselves a bit more opportunity for well-being, and instead of quickly moving on from it. It elongates the experience, it gives us breadth and depth, and it just gives us a chance to really say, that was special, wasn't it? But the other thing is, it's a message to us, because if you were feeling that way, I wonder what it was. What were the attributes? Was it that you're outside? Was it that special person you're with? Was it time alone? Once you know what is good for your well-being, do it, and do it more often, so you can look after yourself because you matter. All right, moving on to transitions. Now that we're in a space where we are more present with each other, we've had more positive emotion, we're more likely to be open to suggestions and able to learn together as well. So that's where we want to be, isn't it? Okay, transitions. We transition all day, every day. We go from home to school or home to work and vice versa. We go from room to room, from class to class, from meeting to meeting, from interaction to interaction, from conversation to conversation. And that takes energy. And that's why it's hard. Why does it take energy? Because every situation, every context is new. Every time you move into a new room or into a new conversation, have the inward conversations of what do they expect of us? How do I want to show up? Where am I? Who are these people? All that sort of thing. You're learning all the time. So you're hyper aware of newness. And if you think about starting work or starting a new career or job, going somewhere else, the first thing you're thinking about is, what are the expectations of others? What are my colleagues going to be like? What's my boss going to be like? Where are the toilets? What's my desk going to be like? Will I have a desk? Will I have to share a desk? There's so many things that we're going through that in fact our children go through as well. So we can understand that there's a lot of newness and there's a lot of expectation. Now, I like to talk about a wellbeing budget. So just imagine with me that you have a budget, a bank balance, and you're continually withdrawing but not depositing. Well, over time, someone's going to actually ring you and say, you can't do this anymore. Or you'll get to an ATM and there's nothing there. Or someone will say, yeah, you can keep withdrawing, but it's going to cost you a lot. This is like our wellbeing budget. The difference is that we're constantly withdrawing and maybe not recognizing it. In fact, I'd say, don't hesitate to say that actually we withdraw a lot more than we deposit, particularly as mothers. And sometimes we're the problem, because by perhaps not saying no at times to things, it makes it really hard for ourselves and for our children. And sometimes childhood is just as high demand. So it's important that we deposit into that wellbeing budget with a rhythm that enables an equilibrium between depositing and withdrawing. So that in clinical terms is called homeostasis, but for us it feels like a rhythm, it feels like an equilibrium. And when we're in that space, our central nervous system is calm and settled. We have more energy to give, we can be more flexible. Little things don't destabilise us. When we haven't got a lot in our wellbeing budget, they do. Even the littlest thing can destabilise us and destabilise our children. So it's really important to think about, how are we depositing into our wellbeing budget and how often are we withdrawing? Now we know that transitions are withdrawals. So one of the things that we also know about the brain is that the brain loves predictability. And one of my favourite CPRs is consistent, predictable routines. So being consistent, being predictable gives us a chance to just settle, to know what's coming next. So again, at the start of the school year, there's so much newness. The start of any year, the start of anything new, it's that level of newness and lack of predictability and routine that can really destabilise us. Now, as adults, we have a fully developed brain, and most of the time we can show up in a way in which we're proud of and we feel good about. However, the children's brain is developing and their prefrontal cortex is not where ours is. So having that awareness of what a transition is, why it's a big thing, is really, really important for us. Does it mean that there'll be no moments of dysregulation? No, because we're human and we have moments of dysregulation and they do as well. Where are ours? Often at home, because we are relaxed and we are in a space that we can trust. So they're not so totally different to us. It's just that it's a different time and space and stage of development that they're experiencing these things. So let's pause for a moment and say, well, now we know the what and the why, and that's really helpful for us. What can we do? Well, I think there are some really important things that we can do before we get into the depth and the detail of the school transitions. The first is to be present. And whilst that sounds easy, it's not. In our world of connectivity, there are constant demands on our time. Our focus is not a strength anymore. In fact, we're all much more distractible, and that is an evidence-based statement. So being present is really important, and having a quality of time, not quantity. Because quality of time, 5 minutes of completely one-on-one, no phone, eye contact, touch, being immersed in each other's space and well-being is worth more than hours, to be honest, on end of being distracted and, you know, being in the same room bodily, but not in any other way. So presence is really important. And of course, we have to be depositing in our well-being budget to have that presence. So the thing is, there's a sweet spot to that presence. And I talk about sweet spot because you can do too little and you can sort of do too much, although presence is not really the case if that's the case. But there are things that we need to do to say, you've got this, send the confidence, and not necessarily do too much for our children either if we're fully present. But I think when we're fully present, we're more likely to actually encourage them to do things from themselves. So we want to send the message that you've got this, yes, but we've got you. And that's something that we're learning, and we're understanding the timing, just like you do when you hit a tennis ball in a sweet spot. It's not about strength, it's about timing. So we can do too much for our children, absolutely, because the more they do for themselves, the greater their self-worth and their belief in themselves. But again, it's timing. At the end of a school day or week, would we encourage them to do up their shoelaces? No, because it would be too great a challenge for them. And you know this more than I do because you know your children better. However, if they've just learnt to do their shoelaces and they're on a high about it, it might be a perfect time. If you think you're doing a bit too much for your children, I think we often are, in a haste, not intentionally, it might be good to just start building that, I know your shoes are at the back door, I'll meet you at the front door, pop them on for me, if you have any trouble, I'll help you. So you're setting an expectation that they can do it, you know where they are, they'll go and get them, but you're there for them. So I think that's really important to remember what that sweet spot might look like for each child, which is different to other children, your other children, different on different days and different times. But those self-help skills, the things they can do for themselves, and I remember my children at 2 pretty much always said, almost with clenched teeth and fists clenched, I do it myself. And they did. And I think that's a really important thing to be aware of. Sending the message, I'm there for you, but you've got this. And that will build confidence as well. What does confidence look like? It looks like packing your school bag, knowing where your lunch is. It looks like being able to smile and say good morning to a teacher. It also, yes, it looks like counting to 10 and knowing your name or being able to write your name. But let's not focus too much on the literacy and numeracy, because that's what teachers are for. They're caring, they went to university to learn to teach, and they do it really well. We can support that in partnership with them, but our focus has to be on that social and emotional and psychological support that we can give them, because we're base camp. For them, we're the place that they feel safe and feel stable and feel secure and from there they can go and explore and do all sorts of amazing things in the world, coming back to us all the time just to touch base. Sometimes it's just a word, a look, a wink that will help them, a touch on the shoulder, whatever it might be, that says, you're doing really well. That's fantastic. So actually we're sort of part coach and also part guardian, because we have to be a bit of a guardian for their energy and for those withdrawals. And we know our child, we have to be brave, and we have to stand up and advocate for them. And indirectly we're advocating for ourselves, because as a mother and a child, really we're not so deeply separated. We're connected. We've carried them for 40 weeks and they've been part of us. So we're setting them free. We want to give them the independence, but we also know the importance of our role in that for our own well-being and for theirs. So there's an absolutely wonderful poem that by Pablo Casals that talks about you are a marvel. And I will read it at the beginning of the next illumination of school, because it's important that we come from what our children can do, what they do have, into an environment, because they need that level of confidence and security. But I would like to say they are a marvel and you are a marvel. All that you do, all that you give is just incredible. Remember to deposit into your own well-being budget. But the word you signifies for me, and I'm talking about you, why. Let's think about the why. The why has a leg to stand on, a capital Y. That's you. And it can be a bit shaky at times, and that's okay as well. But ensuring we're investing in ourselves gives us that solid base, so that we can then reach out and be the best that we can be for ourselves and for others and for our children. The O is about the others that you are careful to invite into your village, those that raise you up, that support you, that make you feel great, because the village is quite diluted now in our community. The final one is you. Never ever underestimate what you can do and what your children can do, because you have enormous strengths and skills and so much to offer, and you are actually a marvel, as are your children. So thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you in the next illumination.